Morning, guys and girls. Welcome to our WWE 2K15 audio universe mode. I'm getting ahead of myself there, but most of us are waiting for 2K16, and so far the roster looks pretty impressive. And I hope that they will improve a lot on this game as compared to based on what we had in 2K15, but it's gonna be a good game. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are as well. We're on NXT today. This is episode 5 of our series. The first upload here on SoundCloud. And I hope those who've been following me on YouTube, you're on SoundCloud as well. Those who subscribe to my channel, thank you. I hope you're there. Yeah, here on SoundCloud as well. And to those of you who are into my series for the very first time, I hope most of you are wrestling fans, because as much as SoundCloud is mainly for music, maybe podcast episodes, radio, I decided to bring this series here to SoundCloud. So those who've listened to it so far, who've liked, who've reposted, thank you. I hope you're enjoying the series. I hope you'll continue to follow it, and maybe if you're not a wrestling fan yourself, but your friends, your family who are into wrestling, this is the series for them. You can show them, you can let them listen to it as well. Something that they can listen to anytime, anywhere, just like your regular podcast and everything. That's what this series, that's the core aspect about this series. That's why I'm doing it this way. Anytime, anywhere for you guys. So on NXT today, and I do apologize that this might seem a bit rushed, because I'm at home right now, and my dad, he's going to be needing some help with his work in a couple of hours. So I figured, let me do the recording for NXT and for SmackDown back to back while I've still got the time. So if these episodes do seem rushed, I do apologize. I'll try and make them as exciting and as epic as I can, because I had fun coming up with these episodes. There's a lot going on in both episodes. So after I finish with NXT, we'll move on to SmackDown and conclude week 2 of our series. We kick right off with the first match of the evening, some tag team action. The number 1 contenders to the NXT tag titles, Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick, going 2-on-2 against the Vaudevillains. These guys, they are NXT mainstays. I'd say now they are getting, some reaction, some positive reaction from the crowd. I think they're probably going to turn face maybe soon, because as I've seen them so far, they were heels, but now they're back, and maybe they'll turn face now. So they're taking on the number 1 contenders for the NXT tag titles tonight. And joining commentary, of course, is their teammate, the NXT champion, John Morrison, coming to share some insight, his own personal thoughts about this match and his big match later on in the evening. That main event. He's taking on Chris Jericho with our general manager, Teddy Long, as special guest referee. If Chris Jericho beats John Morrison, he gets to challenge Morrison for the NXT title at our NXT special happening next week. And again, guys, I'm still looking for suggestions for the name of our special. I've got one so far, so I'm hoping you guys can also contribute with your own suggestions, and then I'll pick the best 5 from your suggestions. And from those 5, you guys then get to vote for which name you'd want our NXT special to get. And this will be how our NXT specials will be named from now on. So it's all in the power of your hands, guys. Your suggestions, they start everything. Now, while the tag team match is happening in the ring, Morrison is asked, what if Jericho beats you tonight? What will happen at our special? And of course, the champion, he's confident that he'll defeat Jericho tonight and push him to the back of the contendership line. But if Jericho does beat him by some chance, Morrison has no doubt that he will beat him properly at the NXT special with the title on the line. But he has no doubt that he'll beat Jericho tonight, so that's his main focus. He's not worried about the special. Probably he believes that if he beats Jericho, he won't have to defend the NXT title at the special and instead just be at ringside to support his teammates taking on the NXT tag champions Rhino and Baron Corbin. And he's confident that his pals will defeat the champions, becoming the new tag champions, and all three of them will have, should we say, they've conquered the NXT roster. Maybe they've reached the top of the mountain and they are the champions, just like what happened with Evolution on Raw back in the day. For those of you who might remember, they held the titles on Raw. Triple H was World Heavyweight Champion, Randy Orton was Intercontinental Champion, Batista and Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, they were the World Tag Team Champions. That was cool. So I think Morrison, he's picturing that for his stable, him as NXT champion, Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick NXT Tag Champions. And that's a bold statement, but can he beat Jericho tonight? We'll find out in the main event. But in this tag team match against the Vaudevillains, who had a point to prove. They wanted to knock off the contenders just a bit on their path to the NXT special, just to prove that even though they're the contenders, they can't just run over all the tag teams who come before them. And they gave them a fight. It was back and forth action, momentum switching between them. The contenders, they had to fight for that win. In the end, Brian Kendrick getting the win for the team with his finisher should be the sliced bread number 2 on Aiden English for the 1-2-3, and they move on with the champion leaving commentary to celebrate with his pals, leaving a message for Jericho tonight that he will be defeated by Morrison. He has no chance, and regardless of who steps up to face Morrison for the NXT, he will be ready. But as for Jericho, he has no chance. And he made an example of the Vaudevillains hitting both of them with the Moonlight Drive finisher. And I prefer that finisher over his, what is it called? Is it a corkscrew moonsault? Split leg. It should be that. He calls it the Starship Pain, but now on Lucha Underground, he calls it the End of the World. Yeah, I didn't really like that move. I prefer the Moonlight Drive because it seems like a move he can hit like any time when he gets the chance, as compared to, this one where he has to set up the opponent near the corner turnbuckle, then climb up, then come down. So he hit these guys with the Moonlight Drive just to set an example for them and to Jericho and anyone in the back watching this. Our second match, Jeff Hardy taking on Big E from the New Day. This picks up from the Intercontinental Contenders match last week. It was was it a triple threat? I think it was a triple threat. Jeff Hardy was in it, Big E and Axel. Yes, it was a triple threat. This is where Matt Hardy he was in Jeff Hardy's corner. The New Day was there for Big E. There was a moment in that match where Axel and the Hardy Boys, they teamed up to take care of the New Day. Then Axel found an opportunity, got the pin over Jeff Hardy to become contender. And Jeff Hardy, he feels like the New Day was involved in that match if it hadn't been for them and Axel as well, but mainly the New Day, he would have become contender. So tonight he's going one-on-one with the guy who was in that match representing the New Day, Big E. And despite New Day being in his corner again, Matt Hardy was in Jeff Hardy's corner tonight, and he made sure that New Day wouldn't get up to anything. He kept them at bay while Jeff Hardy and Big E were going at it in the ring. And despite the size advantage, Big E, his muscle bound over Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy held his own. He brought his aerial assault against Big E's big man moveset and all. He held his ground, with Matt Hardy keeping Kofi Kingston and Xavier away from the ring action. But there was a time when the Hardy Boys, they'll team up, taking out Kofi and Xavier, leaving Jeff Hardy to take on a Big E one-on-one without any trouble from New Day. And in the end, he got the win over the big man with the Twist of Fate and the Swanton Bomb. Now, after the match, the Hardy Boys, they offer a challenge to New Day to take them on at the NXT special 6-man tag team action, with their partner making his debut at the special. But knowing New Day, they wouldn't give their answer, immediately leaving the ring, snubbing the Hardy Boys in their challenge. Will they respond next week, though? We'll find out in the final episode of NXT before the special next week. So Jeff Hardy gets the win over Big E. They offer a challenge to the New Day. New Day, no response, but you could bet they might step up for that challenge. Would they back down maybe? We'll find out next week. Our third match, another tag team match. It's the team I formed in the previous episode, G2. It's Justin Gabriel and Corey Graves. I call them G2, but any suggestions for anything better, more than welcome. You can suggest in the comment section. And this week, they're taking on another team, fresh team, Fandango and Adam Rose. Now, I know in the real world, these guys, they had a bit of a feud going on with Adam Rose. He's got Rosa Mendes, who was Fandango's previous dance partner, until he decided, hey, I don't need you anymore. I'm going back to being who I am, and that's Fandango for the fans, bringing back his previous entrance theme, which I think would help him get over with the crowd, because people love that entrance theme, and I'm glad when he turned babyface, he brought back that theme. So tonight, he's teaming up with in this series, I should say, he's teaming up with Adam Rose. If you guys have a suggestion or any suggestions for the name of this team, you can also suggest that as well. Fandango and Adam Rose. Now, G2 are continuing with the momentum they got from last week, having defeated an established team, the Los Matadores. And this week, despite taking on a fresh team, they showed some improvement and that they could work together, being a new team against another new team. And it looked like they were, more experienced than Fandango and Adam Rose, who are still trying to find the chemistry between them, their teamwork, what works for them. But while they were sorting that out, G2, they were flowing, more comfortable this week than they were last week, and they got the win over Fandango and Adam Rose, the 450 splash from Justin Gabriel onto Adam Rose for the 1-2-3. And we move on to match number 4. Some singles action. The world's strongest man, Mark Henry, he's back this week after taking out Kevin Owens last week in a closed cage match. This was a steel cage match with the roof closed, and the only way you could win that match is pinfall, submission, or walking out the door. Mark Henry was in action against Kevin Owens in that match last week. He overcame Kevin Owens, punctuating his victory with the world's strongest splash on Kevin Owens after the match. But this week he's in action against one half of the Ascension, Connor. Victor is in his corner, but Connor's the one in action against Mark Henry this week. And despite the offense that Connor was bringing into the match, trying to take the big man down, Henry only proved how much better he is than Connor, making quick work of him. It wasn't a squash match in essence. It was more like Connor would try and get some offense in. He would get some hits in, but Henry would overpower him. And in the end, He gets the world's strongest slam. 1, 2, 3. Victor comes in to save his partner. He gets taken down as well with the world's strongest slam. Before Henry addresses the crowd based on what happened last week, just to remind them that he is the most dangerous man on NXT right now. Kevin Owens can't do anything about it. Nobody in the locker room can do anything about it until someone else steps up to Mark Henry's challenge. None other than Samoa Joe. If there is anyone on NXT right now who could step up to a challenge from Mark Henry, even in real life, I would put Samoa Joe is one of those guys. He's big, he's mean, he's angry, he's got power moves. He could take Mark Henry on toe-to-toe without any problem. And he came out just to remind Mark Henry that he could step up for him. He's more than willing to go into the ring with Mark Henry right now, and he's making his way to the ring only to be attacked from behind by the man who was defeated by Mark Henry last week, Kevin Owens. Just a drive-by attack from behind as Owens makes his way to the ring where he starts brawling with Mark Henry. Throws of blows and punches and everything. While they're at it, Joe is recovering outside the ring. He gets on his feet, gets in the ring, and we have 3 guys in the ring going at it now. Kevin Owens, Mark Henry, Samoa Joe. And it takes security to break these guys up, but still, they haven't had enough of each other, breaking through security and continuing to fight here and there. But again, security, they finally get a hold of them, control over them. And you gotta ask, what does this mean going forward? We've got Samoa Joe now in between Kevin Owens and Mark Henry. He's got his own beef with Mark Henry now, who believes he can take on anyone. And of course, Kevin Owens, he's got his beef with Mark Henry based on how things ended last week. What does this mean going forward for these guys? We'll find out next week on NXT. Then we've got match 5. Some more tag team action. The tag champs, Rhino and Baron Corbin, going one-on-one against former NXT tag champions, the Lucha Dragons. Of course, with the #1 contenders, Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick, joining commentary to talk about this match and share their thoughts on their rivals, the tag champs. And the Brian Kendrick makes an interesting observation. He's like, well, the Lucha Dragons are former NXT champions. Rhino and Baron Corbin, they are the current NXT champions. And Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick are your next NXT champions, tag champions. And unlike the current tag champs, they don't have to defeat former champs just to prove how good they are. They'll show the world at the NXT special when they take on the champions 2-on-2 for the titles. While in the ring, the champions going 2-on-2 against the former champions. Back and forth action with the Lucha Dragons not backing down from the challenge, giving these guys as much as they can just to get as much out of the champions on their build towards that title match at the special. In the end, Baron Corbin, end of days on Sin Cara for the 1-2-3. And just as Breeze and the Brian Kendrick are about to confront the tag champions as they are celebrating, out comes General Manager Teddy Long, already in ref gear because the main event is up next. And he was there to remind Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick that they shouldn't be here. They were banned from ringside during the main event, so they're gone. And up next is our main event, John Morrison versus Y2J, Chris Jericho. If Chris Jericho defeats John Morrison, he gets his title shot and they will collide for the NXT Championship at the special. Now remember guys, last week it was six-man tag team match. It was the champion John Morrison teaming up with Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick against Chris Jericho and the tag champions Rhino and Baron Corbin. In that match, if the team of John Morrison and his pals defeated Chris Jericho and the tag champs. Breeze and Kendrick would get their title shot for the NXT tag titles. And of course, John Morrison he helped his team out by hitting Chris Jericho over the head with the title, allowing Tyler Breeze to roll him up for the 1-2-3 last week, and that's how Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick, they got their title shot for the tag titles. The episode was uploaded on YouTube, but I will put up the links for last week's episodes in the description below, in case for the new guys who would want to go back and see how it got to this point, including episode 0, of course, explaining what Audio Universe mode is for those who might not know what this is all about. So tonight, one-on-one action, the champion, John Morrison versus Y2J, contendership on the line this time, with general manager Teddy Long playing special guest referee. If I'm not mistaken, I think Teddy Long was a referee way back in the day. Unless someone can correct me, but I'm pretty sure he was a referee. So if he was a referee, this only fits. You'd play it well right in the middle. No tricks or anything. He's there to have a clean winner. And who else to perform for such a big match than Morrison and Y2J? This time there would be no underhanded moves or tricks from John Morrison. He was out to defeat Y2J fair and square, just to show him that he doesn't deserve to be the challenger for the NXT title. But that only made Chris Jericho fight even harder to get his title shot in this match, meeting Morrison halfway, blow for blow, move for move, back and forth action. They tried everything. Jericho got an advantage over Morrison during the match with the walls of Jericho. Morrison, he didn't tap out. He got to the ropes. Morrison then gets his chance at the submission. Y2J, he's not going to tap out. He gets to the ropes. Then they continue. Jericho finds his chance. Code breaker on the champion. 1, 2.5. Morrison kicks out. He's up again. They have to continue. Morrison, he gets his chance. Moonlight drive on Y2J. 1, 2.5. Jericho, he kicks out. Morrison, he's got to figure out something. He's got to try something new. Something else. What could take Jericho out once and for all? He's gone up the rope. He's looking for Starship Pain. Jericho, he's up. Gets Morrison back to the ground with a backstabber from the top turnbuckle, bringing the champion down. He applies the walls of Jericho one more time right after bringing the champion back. Morrison, he's in the middle of the ring, nowhere from the ropes. He's tired. He's exhausted. No other choice. He can't get to the ropes. He taps out. And Jericho, he gets his win. He'll get his title shot at NXT, the special, TakeOver, the special next week. John Morrison versus Chris Jericho for the NXT title. After this match, where it was back and forth, neither of them were planning to give up, but Jericho got the last advantage, taking out Morrison. Well, I should say bring him when he was looking for the Starship Pain, backstabber, then walls of Jericho to make him tap out. But his celebration doesn't last too long. Tyler Breeze coming from the crowd, laying out Jericho with the super kick, as the Brian Kendrick also pops out from the crowd to help the champion up. Jericho may have gotten the victory, but Morrison and his pals, they got the last moment. What will happen at the special? Will Morrison and his pals come out as champions, or will Jericho take the NXT title away from Morrison? Will Tyler Breeze defeat Rhino and Baron Corbin, or will Jericho and the tag champs leave the special as champions? We'll find out at the special next week. But this concludes our NXT episode. This is week 2, and our next episode, well, recording right after this, is our SmackDown, and it will conclude our second week. And in that episode, in the description below, I will put the links for this week's Raw and this week's NXT as well, so you can recap what happened this week, and as well what happened in the previous week as well, as we build up to week 3, our week before our two big events, the NXT special and the first pay-per-view in this series, Extreme Rules. So thank you guys. Oh, and I was supposed to review Slammiversary in this episode. Okay, it was my very first Slammiversary and not NXT, TNA special, sorry, because I got into TNA again. I got into it a couple of months back. I had been holding on, well, not holding on. I hadn't really been interested in checking out TNA. I had been holding back from watching it since, I'd say, 2007. That would be when I found out about TNA. But at that time, I was still good with WWE. There was still a lot going on in there to keep me good. So I thought, okay, TNA, I can put it on hold. I'm not worried. But here we are with what's happening on Monday Night Raw every week. And at the time, a couple of months back, they were preparing for a main event, a big main event, Kurt Angle versus Bobby Lashley. Lashley was the TNA champion at the time. And I thought, man, I haven't seen these guys in years, you know. Last time I saw Lashley, he was on WWE. Same with Kurt Angle when, I think around the time when ECW was revived, yeah. Those were the times when I saw these guys, and to see them again competing. Apparently this was the first time they were going one-on-one. I should be sure about that. I could be wrong, but from what I remember, if I'm correct, this was the very first time they were meeting each other one-on-one. And I thought, yeah, title is on the line. It's going to be on TV. I got to see it. So that was the first official match I watched on NXT. Also the first time I saw Samoa Joe. And probably, yeah, it was the last time I saw him on TNA before he popped up on NXT. So yeah, that was the first time I saw TNA. First outing. And this was my first Slammiversary, and I wasn't disappointed. I enjoyed all the matches. Even that singles match between those two guys who were a tag team and then they split up. Is it Robbie E and Jesse Goddard? I forget his surname. Jesse, the spectacular guy, really jacked dude. Yeah, that match, that was cool. I thought it would be a filler match. I'm just so used to WWE having these filler matches in their pay-per-view. So, you know, when a match like that comes up, you'll be like, oh, okay, it's probably a filler match. But it was watchable. It wasn't a problem. The one match that was a little odd for me was what turned into a street fight between Matt Morgan and Bram. Yeah, Bram. That time when Bram was outside the ring looking for weapons under the ring. I don't know what he was looking for, but I thought he took a little bit too long looking for whatever it was he was looking for. And it was a little awkward with Matt Morgan in the ring trying to sell the move he had gotten from Bram before he went out the ring. I thought maybe he could have at least gone outside the ring to meet with Bram and they fight, and maybe Bram, he gets advantage over Matt Morgan a bit, goes back looking for whatever he's looking for, continues to fight with Matt Morgan outside the ring, something. And in the end, what did he find? I think it was another chair. There was a chair already in the ring, but Bram found another chair under the ring. So I was like, well, it was a waste of time. You were looking for a chair. There was a chair already in the ring. You know what I mean? But other than that, it was an okay match. That was the only issue I had with it. Nothing else. The knockouts was a 3-on-2. Awesome Kong teaming up with Brooke against the Dollhouse. No problem there. I think when you compare how much the knockouts, how much effort they put into their matches and the time they get for their matches compared to the divas on the main roster, you can see the difference. With that much time you get for your match, you get to do a lot, as much as you can, to entertain the crowd, and they get behind the knockouts as compared to the divas. They don't get a lot of time, and in any case, WWE tends to misuse their divas. They end up not getting some kind of direction or a storyline that we as fans can really rally behind them, as compared to the NXT women, because at least, even if they have a small storyline going on between them, but they can make up for it with the performance they put in the ring. And now with these knockouts, the match was watchable. I didn't feel like it would be, well, I was hoping it wouldn't be a filler match. I was also hoping that maybe a mystery partner was going to come and team up with them, since it was a 3 versus 2, but despite the numbers advantage, Kong and Brooke, they performed, they pulled through. It was a fun match. Then the main event, the King of the Mountain match. That was an interesting match. I'd never seen anything like it before. It's interesting, it's new, it's fresh. So I was interested to check it out, even though it was pretty obvious that Jeff Jarrett, the man who came up with that match and having come back on TNA's weekly show to put himself in the match, even though it was obvious that he was going to come out on top and win it, it was fun just to see how he was going to get to winning that match. And I'd wished that it should have gone on a little bit longer, because I liked the idea of them having him out of action while these other guys are fighting for it. So it made it a lot less, well, it was obvious that he was going to win the match, but it just made it a little bit less obvious. There was that little chance that maybe someone else might win it. Maybe he'll try to win it, but then someone else will steal the win from him. So I liked that, and I wish that it had gone on a little bit long, because it just felt like the finish. I mean, he was down for most of the match, and then he sets up the ladders. Next thing you know, he climbs up and he gets to, hook the championship back on top, which was actually quite cool, because I'm used to someone climbing up a ladder to retrieve something that's hanging above the ring, but here we have someone putting something back above the ring. So I'm curious to see what they'll do with the King of the Ring championship. I have some ideas, like maybe, although it's cliche because they also have a contract in a briefcase situation, I just thought that maybe the King of the Mountain, he cashes in his championship for a title shot, the TNA World Championship. That's just one idea. Or maybe, although it's a stretch, because if they're gonna do it annually, you never know. He might win the match this year, and then next year, between this year and next year, maybe they'll leave TNA or something. So my other idea was like the winner of the King of the Mountain this year, like Jeff Jarrett, he defends the title next year, maybe at Slammiversary, if they have the King of the Mountain match again at Slammiversary next year. He defends that title at the next Slammiversary, something like that. That was just my second idea, but I was worried that, maybe if the superstar who wins it might not be there next year, it kind of kills the whole point of the idea. So I thought maybe, why not have the winner cash in the title for a shot at the TNA World title. It keeps it fresh. I don't know how they would use it without it seeming like a pseudo Money in the Bank. Maybe like you're given a time frame of when you can cash it in instead of like holding on to it until the next Slammiversary. Maybe you're given a month or so to cash in, and then you set a date for when you'll fight the champion. That's just my idea. I'll see. I'm looking forward. I haven't watched this week's episode of TNA. I'm hoping to check it out after I do these recordings, which is curious because I think a lot of people were wondering why didn't they set up their title matches, the matches that are happening this week on TNA. Why didn't they have them at Slammiversary? And I thought the same thing until someone on the PW Torch podcast, he pointed out that maybe it's because they weren't sure that a lot of people would buy the pay-per-view. So rather, because they know that there'll be a lot of people who will watch the weekly episode as compared to how many people might have bought Slammiversary, why not have the title matches on TV? And that's when I realized, okay, it's a good idea, I guess, because they'll have a bigger audience for the weekly episode. So it's okay, have the title matches on the weekly show. So I'm looking forward to those matches, especially the title match EC3 versus Kurt Angle. I think it would be interesting to have EC3 beat Kurt Angle. I mean, it would add value to his streak as compared to like what happened with the Moose. How long was his streak? The Moose on Ring of Honor, was it a year? A span of time had passed since he debuted. He was undefeated, and then he loses to this guy. I forget his name. Was it Cedric? Cedric Alexander. I forget his name, but he lost. He lost his match. He suffered a loss, ending the streak just like that. So I'm hoping that won't happen with EC3. I hope he'll have a good match or had a good match against Kurt Angle. I hope he beats him for the title just to see what happens moving forward. What kind of a champion will EC3 be? Will it be a case like what happened with Jay Lethal? Lethal was coming into that title match at Best in the World as a heel, but when he defeated Jay Briscoe, becoming champion, it looked like, maybe he's turned face because the crowd were now cheering for him. So I'm wondering, will that be the case for EC3 if he puts on a good match against Kurt Angle? I'm hoping that's what happened. I'm hoping that will happen. I'm hoping it happened. So I'll be checking that out. That's my take on Slammiversary. My very first Slammiversary, no complaints. It was cool. I'm looking forward to their next pay-per-view. I'm not sure when that will be, but I'm hoping to check it out. No problem with it. That's Slammiversary. This is the end of our NXT episode. I'm seeing it's gone on. It's probably the longest episode I've done so far, almost 40 minutes. I hope it won't be a drag uploading it to SoundCloud. I know it would have been a big drag uploading it on YouTube because I'd have had to convert and all. But yeah, I've had fun. After this, we move on to SmackDown. We get that done, and hopefully I can upload both episodes tonight for you guys. At least you'll have double fun, double episodes back to back, ending week 3 of our Universe Mode, Audio Universe series. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed NXT. Looking forward to SmackDown. Big main event there. We'll check it out. See you on SmackDown. Thank you.